on Facebook in what? A little intro, allow people to get in. Okay, Judith, I will pull you up in about 2 or 3 minutes. Just sit tight, if you would, please. Okay, let's see. Get us up on Facebook. Here, share. I'm going to do a little intro and share everything out. It is available on the page now. So let's just do a little intro. Got a little soul speak on the ascension that we all share. This unveiling, this apocalypse. You know, all this discussion of what is reality, conspiracy, heresy, truth that's stranger than fiction. Doesn't get any better than this. It's not just time to bring on the apocalypse, it's time to start riding it. It's not going to hurt us. Because one thing's for sure, in our conscious mind and even in our subconscious, if that's what you want to call it, we have always survived. And the reason for that is because we never die. So when it comes to ascension, what else is there to talk about? This ascension, unveiling, is not complicated. It's just a microcosm of the state of our being from any point, from this present moment to any point in our past. And in regard to the past, now we can look back to see, to awaken without the element of linear time. Yeah. Because the wisdom still comes. Because the universe is never late. That means we can take from our past the powerful wisdom of the eternal moments, seen when we unveil the hurts and the blame given and received. You know, we've reached a point where forgiveness will cease to exist. Because perfection did not create forgiveness, but as a path to a higher perfection, a new reflection of itself, of ourselves. Yeah, it's true. It's just not necessary forgiveness, and neither is our love. So we can stop chasing both right now and all the false securities and failed searches that go with the lofty goals of a moral world. Both the things that they put beyond our reach and the reasons they gave us for not being able to reach them. It's time to re-enter the fold of the immortal, the fold of the I Am soul. Hello, everybody. I'm about to pull Judith Kusel up, our beloved sister. Thank you all for coming. Please share these broadcasts if they resonate with you so we can stay above the algorithms of Facebook. I'm going to put the link up on the live right now for Zoom, because for the last 2.5 weeks, everyone's been getting knocked up 5-10 times the show. So if you want to watch it uninterrupted, if you have any problems, there's the link there, and you can go right to Zoom and watch it uninterrupted. Thank you all for your love and support and contributions. Let me pull up Judith. They keep us going by the seat of our pants every day. But that's how the ascension works. No guarantees, it's all in the moment. And we do appreciate the support you've given us, Morgan and I, and Soulogy. Here we go. There she is. Judith. Uh-oh. Oh, there she is. Hey, Judith.
Okay. Hello.
How are you doing?
Not sure.
Can you see me? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Uh-oh. No? Can you see me? Let's see what happens. Anytime we have problems, we always end up having a great show, which is most of the time. Okay, so you're not hearing me. Are you seeing me? Here, let me go into the chat.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? You can't hear me? Let's see. No, I'm not on mute. You're not on mute. Okay, so let me see. Let me just type her note. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Okay, it must be something on her end. Let's see. All right, let's just, everybody hold space. Let's see here. I'm going to make you co-host. Try this. See if that'll work. It's okay. It's going to be all right. It's going to be okay, everybody. We're going to be all right. Thank you all. We got 63 people in the house. And the beautiful Judith. This is Judith. I can see you, but I can't hear you. Okay, so let's see. So, check your check your speaker is not muted. Let's see.
Okay.
How's that? I heard something.
That's not muted.
That's not it? Okay.
Record.
Try going out and
Unmute.
Back in. Okay. Woo, it's hot in here.
Settings. That one.
Appreciate everybody's patience. We're going to get through this. So they can hear you. Like okay, I can hear you. You just can't hear me. That's the only thing. Okay. We'll get it worked out. It'll work out. Brenda Channel. Brenda Channel. Bernie said that
let me try again.
Okay. Okay.
So,
no rush.
I should go into that. So
yeah. You can try going out and coming back. Getting totally out.
Share video.
Okay, there is a
okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Did that leave me?
Okay, so she's gonna go out and come back. So there's a special announcement that I want to share with y'all. I just received a message from one of our beloved sisters who's been on the show 4 or 5 times and who's been out there doing the work for many, many years. This is a difficult time for some. You know, it's a lot of pressure on the human aspect. We're having to detach from a lot of things. We're having to take leaps of faith. And sometimes it gets pretty intense. But our dear beloved sister, Marianne Savino, out of New York City, has been diagnosed with cancer in her lymph nodes. And she sent me a note a minute ago asking for prayers. And so I just asked everybody in this moment to just let's put okay, do this back and we'll get back to that in a second. All right, let me get her up here. We got it now. Yeah. Okay. She's coming. Okay, yeah, we're all right. And then we'll finish that thought. Yes. Yes. Now we're good. Okay.
I'm sorry about that. There's
it always happens this way. We always have technical difficulties, but anytime we have technical difficulties on the show, it's always a great show. I was just telling everybody, let me just bring you up to speed real quick.
We have a dear sister, beloved sister, Marianne Savino, who just sent us a note. She's been on the show 4 or 5 times. She's been out there doing the work for years and years. She, we know that what we're all going through in this transition doesn't always make sense in the human level. It's a lot of pressure on the human aspect. She's been diagnosed with the illusion of cancer in her lymph node, and she's asked for prayers. She's held up a lot of people for many, many years, and she's a beautiful, beloved sister. And I just would ask everybody to just join me in the circle of life in this moment, grounded with our guides and our angels. And we place Marianne in the center of the circle of life, and we all together in community send her peace, love, healing, comfort, and courage and strength. And so it is. Thank you, everybody. And welcome, Judith Kusel. It's an understatement to say that every time you come on, there's always something big happening. so it, just as a backdrop, and then we'll jump right into it. 4:30 in the morning, Morgan woke up, and I woke up shortly thereafter. We have a dear friend, a beloved sister, visiting us right now. She was having the same thing happen. I seen some posts talking about some things coming in, give or take 2 or 3 hours. There seems to be another really big shift, many, many veils being lifted. And then about 45 minutes before the show started, I started to feel sick. So I knew something was happening. I'm like, thank God Judith's coming on. So maybe she could shed some light, or at least that big smile, and make us all feel a little bit better to anchor. But it's wonderful to see you. Welcome back to Soul Speaks 5D. There's so much to talk about. I know you've been busy, and you've been writing a lot of stuff, and I've been reading it religiously. It's always very helpful. But welcome back, and thank you for joining us and sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence again.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me back. And it's absolutely amazing to be on your show again. Thank you so much. And it's interesting you're talking about all the changes. I was just, before I got into the show and I got a bit quiet, I was seeing how things around Hawaii are changing, and how the landmass is rising again, from what used to be Lemuria, Mu. And it's coming to the fore now in a very, very profound way. So the energies are busy changing in immense flux there around the Pacific Islands. So you will find that there will be dramatic energy shifts there as well, not only in the land itself, but also in the oceans, in the sea around the Pacific Islands.
Wow. So. That gave me chills. Well, it's interesting because over the last few days, I want to say maybe the last 8 to 10 days, the weather has been, especially in the evenings, has been unbelievably mild and beautiful. I mean, it's been incredible. And then the other thing I've got to tell you too is that I believe it's the second to the last time we did a show, 2 shows back, you told me about a kahuna that was with me, and I took it energetically, I didn't, but I met somebody very recently who's very connected to the oral histories passed down. He's Maori from New Zealand, but he's also very connected to Lemuria, and he's also privy to a lot of infinite intelligence regarding the history, a lot like you are when it comes to Elysium and Avalon and such, and all the other stuff you do. But yeah, so that you popped in my head when him and I connected. So just a little validation. But yeah, what you're saying really speaks to me. It really does. Something's happening here. So you're seeing that.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. It's interesting because I often will tune into sort of like areas in the world where I know that huge changes are coming. They normally show me, where it is. And that region is definitely, there is something dramatic happening there. So it's not something to be scared of, it's something to welcome in, because, the portals are opening now at a very high degree. And we are actually now shifting faster than we've ever been before. It's accelerated speed now. And the earth is totally, she has already been reborn, but she's now being cleansed and cleared at a very deep level. So all this old stuff has to get out, it's got to get out. It's got to be released. And so we must never be scared of earth changes, but rather say, okay, it's a part of the rebirthing process. It's a part of a cleansing and clearing, and it's part of moving into a higher dimensional state. Just like we have assumed a new crystalline body, or we're busy assuming it, the earth has already moved into that higher frequency band. And in the next few years, we've still got to get into the 7th dimensional state. So this is accelerated ascension at the highest level. It's really it's going to intensify now. So it's a matter of going with the flow and not resisting it, to allow yourself to be changed, to allow yourself to go with the flow, and to allow yourself to be transformed. I was speaking to somebody the other day, and they had this beautiful thing about, did you know that when before the butterfly is born, everything becomes liquid.
Wow.
It's literally liquidized before the butterfly can emerge from that chrysalis. And that is what's happening now. We're being liquidized in a higher sense. It's just amazing. I sometimes have got no words for it. It's just amazing.
I can feel these changes. Yeah, I think a lot of people have and can, but I can also feel it. I've felt the changes in my body over the last, probably specifically the last couple of years. But man, over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I can actually see evidence and feel how fast the body is changing. And I was just thinking about that, and I think about converting totally to a light body, and I think about all these. I don't say all these, but many people, not many. Some people get out and talk about 2024 and 2035 and 20 this and 20 that, and I'm thinking, man, this stuff's happening so fast. It could be tomorrow. It could be. Yeah. There's it seems too that, we know the ascension is a very personal thing on an individual level, and not to take anything personal on the external level. But there seems to be, with these energies, and like you said, things coming up, there seems to be a lot of pressure being put upon human interaction, one-on-one relationships, truth speaking, old loops playing of engaging, what we might call the lower vibration or the unconscious vibration. And it's a really interesting dynamic. I mean, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes. And I found the last few weeks, were very volatile. It was almost like a lot of the stuff came churning up. And the thing is, with communication, you've got to start speaking it out. You can't let it just hang around. In so many lifetimes, we didn't have the opportunities to speak out. We swallowed what we needed to speak out. And it was mainly fear that was holding us back. The fear of communication, the fear of sometimes sort of speaking out, the fear of when we really express ourselves, something will happen to us. And you must remember, a lot of us were persecuted in other lifetimes. That's why the throat chakra is so very blocked up. But it's also the sacral and the base chakra now, that lower body, that needs to be opened up to a higher degree. And that's where our greatest fear is. It's our greatest powerhouse, but it's also our greatest fears are our insecurities, our all the things we haven't dealt with sits there in the lower body. And the thing is, our higher, even if we have the higher transmitter channels open, remember, we've got to become a bridge between heaven and earth. We've got to really anchor that higher thing now into Mother Earth. But if it's the lower chakras here are blocked, if a lower body is blocked, we can't get through. And I've always been brought back to the spinal column. I actually had a webinar the other day where I really worked with the spinal column with those who attended. The spinal column is your lightning rod. It's your higher transmitter goes through your spinal column. Now, if the lower part of your spinal column is blocked, that energy can't go through you and into the earth and come back up again. So there needs to be a lot of cleansing and clearing of those areas here so that the transmitter channels can go through you and into the earth and come back again up. So back again. So even the spinal column of the earth is now going to get cleansed. And that's one of the reasons why I've been called to Greece and Egypt. So we are busy in a transformation, but as our DNA is busy going into a higher frequency band, our spinal column also is getting retuned. So we've got to remember that. And it's like a tuning fork. It tunes into the cosmic sound frequencies and it transmits them. So it goes with the 33 octaves of sound, which are starting to get returned to the planet. And as they are getting returned, we might not even hear them with our physical ears yet because they have a very high frequency. We are getting retuned to the cosmic tunes. And it's like a massive cosmic orchestra, galactic orchestra that plays through all the galaxies and solar systems and the planet, because every galaxy has got its own tones, and the solar system has got its own tones, and the planet has got its own tones. And in that, we are getting retuned and I could say, almost like re-emitted to the cosmic orchestra that is playing, so that we can find our vital place within that again.
Yeah, that all resonates as usual. And then the other thing I see happening too is I'm still a little bit, and I know it's my own self I've got to look at, but what I'm talking about is the possibility or probability or reality or whatever you want to call it of darkness, of evil. There's seems to be more being disclosed on the global level in regard to some of the issues that have been out there that have been held back from us, be it pedophilia, be it trafficking, just how things were being run and what was being kept from us. And I have spent a lot of time on a personal level, and I know a lot of people have, integrating all aspects of the universe, regardless of what it is or whether we can understand it or not. But is there evil? Is there darkness? Or is that just something that's just in this realm for a way for us to differentiate and contrast?
In my book, I was born in Africa, the untold story of Elysium and the Lion Kingdom, I go very much deeply in how the wars of heaven started. And we come from the 12 master galaxies, which were the first galaxies that were ever created by in the act of creation. And that is where we all come from, because the earth was colonized by these, the outer earth, first the inner earth, but then the outer earth, by these 12 master galaxies. And they were like you could say the first creation, and out of those first creation, the later creation came, because you remember creation is always creating itself. And then suddenly these were 12. So you had your 12 master galaxies. And then from nowhere, they suddenly discovered there was a 13th galaxy that they didn't know about, but it has always been there. And it was when they started investigating this 13th galaxy that they found themselves being infiltrated by this, I would say it's almost like a consciousness that infiltrates the mind and then controls the mind. It takes the mind over the mind. And it was when this infiltration came that it infiltrated certain aspects of those galaxies, and that is how they split off from the rest. And that is how the wars of heaven started. And you must remember that the wars of heaven was so immense that it literally, they blew up galaxies. From the 12 master galaxies, only 7 remain.
Wow.
And that brought the whole sort of like the galactic scale in total chaos, you can imagine. And I mean, the Earth was bombarded with the pieces of the planet between Jupiter and Mars being blown up. and the asteroids and meteorites and comets hitting the Earth. It was thrown out of orbit. And it took many, many millions of Earth years before that all got into some state of order again. And then a later civilization came in, and they always reached a certain high of balance and beauty. But then from somewhere, the infiltration would come again from the same old, whatever you call it. And the same old things happened again, self-destruction, chaos, the same old thing. And you must remember that God, that the divine loves us so much that he gave us free will and choice. But your free will and choice determines the outcome. In other words, power is like a two-edged sword. It's what you do with the power that can either build up or it can destroy. That's a collective lesson of humankind. In the past, we always tended to self-destruct. Why? Because we tended to listen to our mind and we forget our hearts. And that is the greatest lesson of Atlantis. Now, in this life here, we seemingly have polarities. We seemingly have a dark and we seemingly have a light, okay? But if you take a top, all right, a spinning top, and you put half of the top is black and the other half is white, okay? You can see it because as it stands still, you can clearly see both sides. But now watch what you do if you start taking the top and you spin it. The faster it spins, the less you can see the difference. It becomes gray. It becomes like no color at all. That is the secret. The higher your frequency band and the higher you go up in your consciousness level, the less you see division. You start seeing unity. And you realize that the dark and the light are actually two sides of the same coin. And the thing is, most people try to not acknowledge that they have a shadow side. But the thing is, you're not always nice. You are mean too. You can be cruel and you can be kind. It depends on what mood you are in. And we all have that potential in ourselves. We have the whole of humanity within us because we are part of the whole. You cannot say, I'm not this, I'm not that, because you are it all. And everybody is like a mirror to you, reflecting back to you what you have not loved and earned about yourself. Now, you can either get very depressed about it and then label them, like judgment and say, they are bad, they are this, they are that. But the thing is, everything you judge about yourself. So that is where we have to, when we start slowly comprehending that everything we judge, we separate from the whole. And we label them, and then we call them good, or we call them evil, or we call them whatever else. But we are sowing separation instead of unity.
Yeah, I get that. I really do. I put to bed, it's for me personally, I put to bed that whole thing, I think in general, 2-3 years ago, maybe 2016. But when I got to the island, I kind of merged with the reptilian the first night I was here. And so that's kind of how I've been. And I've noticed it. But I also know something still needs work in me, because I look at these, and I'm not picking on anything. I'm just telling you where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Which is like the QAnon and the Trump, and I have nothing against Trump. It's not like that. It's just people saying these are the white hats in the government, and the bad ones are being pushed out, and I see it as a separation. I see it as, and so in myself, it's more to do with human interaction and being offended or offending or whatever's in between, because I don't know who's offended who or what's right or what's wrong. I've gone very quiet when it comes to these things because I don't know what to say, because I don't know where I'm at with it. But I guess what I'm getting at, based on what you're saying, is that truly as within, without. So whether it's the heavenly war, the wars, or galactic going on, it's actually coming from us. It sounds like that we are actually emanating whatever's happened in the past, obviously, and what's happening now. And to, I guess, what you're saying is take the responsibility as a sovereign creator to bring that harmony and balance by moving away from separation to unity on a one-to-one basis as we go through life. Would that be?
What you come to a stage where you start to understand that you have to, if you perceive, within yourself, you perceive something bad happening, immediately look for the opposite side. The opposite side is there simultaneously. If you think today has been somebody shouting at you, then go and look who has been loving you, who has been validating you. And you will find that the opposite side is simultaneously there. Yeah. Once you actually start looking at it, sometimes we fear something, but if we start looking at, there are always benefits and there are drawbacks. Everything has got a benefit and a drawback. Sometimes if you think something is so good, if you start looking at it, absolutely, you start seeing, but there's a downside too. You understand? It's there, but we tend to only want to look at the one side and we don't look the other side. Now, I must admit that I have got out of politics a long time ago, and that was in my 20s. I always wanted to be a politician.
I did too.
and when I was in my 20s, I got invited to after I had an argument with this politician. He actually invited me along, and he said, well, will you please come to the campaign, and work with us? I thought to myself, okay, I'm going along. I'm just going to observe, I'm just going to see how all of this happened. And to me, it was one of the most eye-opening things in my life. Because the thing is, the day of the election, we stood there, and I remember there was this cricket player. He was about 6'6". He was a big guy, and I said to him, well, how do I know? How must I help these people to vote? He said to me, well, you listen to me. Most people come here to vote, and they've got no cook and clue who are they vote. They don't know who they were voting for. They just heard on the radio that they've got to come and vote. You just tell them, make the cross here, and you show them your party, and you show them where the cross. I said, are you joking? He said, no, that's how people work. And really, I tell you what, it worked. And that day, my eyes opened up, and I realized how unconscious humanity is. You understand? If you're not conscious of what you are doing, you are unconscious. You are asleep. Yeah. And that is why what we as light workers have to understand is that we are responsible for our own life and our own inner well-being. But the beauty of it is that when you start becoming in balance and harmony within yourself, your view of the world changes. Your buttons don't get pushed so much anymore. Yeah. You start realizing that it doesn't matter who is in charge of the government. In the end, everything will work out exactly as it is. Yeah. Here in South Africa, we've had very interesting people as presidents, and sometimes it's hair-raising what happened. But I have started, and people start to moan. I immediately put them back, and I said, but look on the other side. Look at the people in the street. Yeah. There are so many beautiful souls out there, but the good news doesn't sell. The good news doesn't come around and make headlines. And there are so many people out there who just wish to live their lives to the best of their abilities. And if we look at it that way, we will always see that there is a positive side and there's a negative side. But everything in the end works out exactly as it is. Now, we must remember that as we raise our consciousness, as we raise our vibration, we have a ripple effect on the whole. Yeah. And I had this beautiful conversation yesterday with someone, and the younger generation are really so more conscious than we were at that age. And he was saying to me, you know what? He said the old order will not stay very long because we have a broader vision. And I said to him, thank you. Now you're speaking the truth.
Yeah.
You see, as we change one by one, we're having a ripple effect on the whole. And believe me, it is happening.
Oh, yeah.
It is happening. We are being lifted into a higher frequency band. And I've been told time and again that those that cannot hold that frequency band will just disintegrate and will have to start life somewhere else in the cosmos and go through the whole evolutionary process because the universe has declared this planet shall ascend and humanity shall ascend, and it's happening.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not planning on disintegration. I don't want to start over again. Going back to what you're saying, too, I want to go back over it real quick so everybody, well, just to make sure that I understand what you're saying. We were talking this morning, my friend and Morgan and I, and Morgan's often said, I think it's the same thing that you're saying, which is when we look to clear something or integrate something or equalize with something, a lot of times we go to one end of the spectrum, which might be the good or the happy or even the opposite, but not to forget the polarity, not to forget the polarity, because you can think you cleared this one, but the other one's still running, which in this duality is the same loop. And I had an example last night when we went to bed and we connected. This essence came in and had me start to surrender. And so I was like, okay, I've got to surrender that. And they were like, yeah. And I said, okay, I surrender that. And then, which was something I was attached to, right? And then it came back and said, now surrender to this, which was the other side of it, which was like the positive side. Like, oh, I'd like to have that. You know what I mean? And I said, okay. So I had to surrender both polarities. Is that what you're saying, is to be aware of both polarities, not to ignore one side or the other?
Yeah. Because, you've got your two scales of balance, and center point is always in the middle.
Yeah.
That and when you get to the balanced state, you start to get grateful. You start seeing the bigger picture and you start becoming grateful. Gratitude immediately opens up a heart, and it's opened up all your channels in the universe. I just want to sort of share this with you. A few weeks ago, I was really challenged by somebody. You get some of the old fire and brimstone, people.
I've known it.
I had the fire and brimstone suddenly on my head. And, normally I would just ignore it and laugh it off. But it really got to me, so that I went into a deep soul searching, after this. And I started questioning everything. And I was even questioning myself when I was doing my path and everything. And then, and through this, all of, trying to find the hidden meaning, am I on the right path? Is this person right? Maybe I didn't see this, maybe I was ignoring that, type of thing, as we all do, to get ourselves back into balance again. And then suddenly, I was in a sort of meditative state, and I was taken right up, at universal level. And I was shown the whole master plan, not only of the planet and where humanity is going, but of my own soul and the souls involved who have been working for many lifetimes together to get this moment in time going for humanity. And I was shown that with some souls, you make agreements, to work together in this lifetime. Now, when you are with them in this lifetime, it might sometimes seem as though they're going this way and you're going that way, and you're not getting to the same wavelength here and whatever. And then suddenly I was shown how, if souls agree to certain things, it will happen, and it's already happening. And the minute that I saw that, I saw the clarity, and I could suddenly get, aha, thank you. I thanked the person that was playing out the role by challenging me. I had to go through all the soul searching in order to find my own balance point again. And the minute that I saw the higher picture, I became grateful. And it was just like this whole cloud lifted off me. And suddenly I could see clearly again. And I said, thank you, thank you, thank you. Now I can see the bigger picture. Thank you. Everything is on track. Thank you. All is just as it should be.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, and it's like those you're most kindred to in outside of this realm, or can very quite possibly be those who trigger you the most. Or, you know, like you said, they're going this way and you're going that way, but really they're not. There's been a lot of talk too about really detaching from the labels and the roles that we're giving at a deeper level than we've talked about in the past, where, you know, people are disengaging from their children and from relationships and from their locations and from jobs. And there's almost, I guess maybe it's because of that frequency you're talking about, that higher awareness or perspective, where they're almost emotionless, like the old feelings, I guess, that were tied to guilt and shame and all that stuff in our roles, like as a father, for instance, or as a husband. As we detach, it's like, I'm not feeling like I used to feel. Like, I'm not feeling like, oh my God, what are they thinking about me? Or did I do something wrong? It's like, it's a little bit strange. It's a new kind of love, I guess. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
It is a new kind of love. You know, to me, you know, the relationships are going through immense changes at the moment. And the changes is to keep the heart open no matter what. You know, it's not because you lose feeling or you lose perspective, but it's almost that you realize, okay, I'm trying to find the words now. It's almost like you start to understand that at the higher level, there is no need to feel shame and guilt. You are merely mastering soul lessons now. And the other one will always reflect back to you at some degree what soul lessons you still have to master, because you still got to go inside yourself and say, why is this guy or why is he or pushing my buttons? Yeah. You know, why am I insecure about this? What is it about me that I have not worked through? But this, it's to me, it's beautiful because, you know, to me, in any relationship, you need a trust and you need respect. And that needs to be spoken out. You know, you need to speak out what's in you. You need to speak out what's insecure inside you. You need to speak out. And even if the other doesn't want to quite hear that, but to get that safe space where you can just simply be yourself and say, well, listen, in the deeper soul, this is how I really think about this. This is how I feel about it. And then to meet each other, that we don't judge each other and immediately criticize and say, no, listen, because you said that, now I'm going to hammer you.
Yeah.
Just to be quiet. You know,
yes.
That space and say, okay, I might not always understand why you do this. I might not always understand why you react the way you act, but I'm going to stay in the space of unconditional love, and I'm going to just help see you as you are in the truth of your soul. And then we grow closer together, and love can go deeper, and it go in the deeper level, because now we start meeting each other at soul. The soul merges. And that is the beauty. You know, the physical form sometimes is more of a hindrance than it's a help.
Right.
And the physical reality of life, the soul doesn't need that. The soul knows what love is at the deepest core, and love is unconditional. It says, I love you. No matter what I've done or not done, I'm worthy of love. No matter what you have done or not done, you're worthy of love. It's just that, you know, in this lifetime, we have all these personas that come up. Yeah. You know, like an actor on the stage. We're like actors on the stage. We assume mask, and we assume this person that in truth the soul is not. And then when the soul comes out, the beauty of a soul reveals itself. And then we look, wow, I've never seen you like that. Suddenly the blinkers fall off. You say, wow, that is who I love. It's a soul in you. It's a beauty, the most beautiful soul that you are. And then I can embrace you and we can become closer because now all the blinders have come up and we can see the truth of the soul.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's, and yeah, and that's what I was talking about. It's like, well, I wrote a little piece the other day. I guess I kind of connected and I wrote this little piece late at night. I don't remember all of it, but what came out was these are these people that tell you they love you without saying a word because they love themselves. They see the beauty in themselves and they see the beauty in others as a result of it. It's like an unspoken telepathic thing. It's not what we say. It's not even what we do. It's what we are. I think is what I was serving as a conduit to explain. And that's what I was reflecting on earlier was just this human interaction as we make this transition from, talking, over talking to, I don't know if it's temporary or not, but I find myself going into a silence, really to do my best to maintain my field because I know that that's what I have to offer the world. It's a level of illumination that I have. And it's just, it is moving fast. I see a lot of growth in myself and other people. And that's what I tend to focus on. It's just kind of a interesting dynamic to be observing all this stuff. And like you said, you take it back into yourself. If I'm getting triggered, even in the slightest degree, by the redundancy of, there's going to be a financial reset, there's going to be disclosure, there's going to be the government's going to turn around, all these things. If I'm getting triggered by that, there's still something in me that I need to level off. And in terms of that type of example, whatever it may be that's triggering us that we just can't put our finger on, do you have a method or a way or any advice on how to discover what it is or how to integrate it and transform it?
I think that the Jewish shows our human side. As much as we are soul, we're also human. And we have to cope with life on earth. We can't distance ourselves from life. We've got to be fully anchored into to life itself. And that's something I had to learn, the last few years, is that I also have to survive. I have to be able to stand on my own 2 feet. Financially, I've got to stand, I've got to be able I've got to be able to live and make a living and get my message out of there. At the same time of having to deal with whatever goes on in the world. So it's not because one isolates oneself. And, when we can't be up there, we have to be firmly grounded in Mother Earth. And to me, I actually start finding a blessing there because it says it keeps me grounded in Mother Earth. It keeps me grounded that I have to pay taxes. It keeps me grounded that I've got to look, how I'm going to cope, what is someone going to do. I have to strategize somewhere along the line because otherwise I won't be able to cope with life. Yeah. And in the beginning, I used to push my buttons, and then I realized, but look at the benefits. Okay, look at the benefits. What are the benefits here? If I start mastering this part of myself and I start mastering how I'm going to do it, how is that going to benefit me? But how is it going to benefit the rest of humanity? Because remember, we are here to serve. And if we are serving, and how is it benefiting other people if I master this? You see? Yeah. So now you bring it in because you're serving other people. How if you are coping with life and you're anchoring in it like you're doing your show, you are reaching all those people, it's benefiting them. Yeah. You see? So if you actually master that aspect of the challenge and you say, okay, how's this benefiting me? Then I can serve humanity in a greater way. You see, because now you're getting a bigger vision. You see where you're going. You see, okay, I'm putting the news out there. I'm spreading the word, and I'm going there. Okay, so it's not only benefiting me to be able to stand on my own 2 feet and to cope with life and whatever comes in. But I'm also teaching other people at the same time, because I'm a leading example. You see, I lead from the front. I don't withdraw myself from life and just not take part in life. And it also goes to the thing that you have to look at drawbacks too, okay, at the same time. What I do is I just take a piece of paper and I put benefits on the one and drawbacks on the other, and then I start listing them. Okay. Until you start seeing more benefits than drawbacks, you won't be motivated to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that old Ben Franklin routine. That's what Ben Franklin did. I know you are very connected to Elysium, the Lion Kingdom. We've got a gateway coming up. We're in Leo. I'm not that well versed in this stuff, but this just came in, so I'm just going to pass it on. There does seem to be a huge, if I look at the last couple of years with the Lionsgate, 8/8 Lionsgate, is there anything, any intel or anything on the horizon that you're aware of? I mean, is there a specific theme to what this Lionsgate is all about, you know, in regard to the presence or the expanded presence of the Lion Kingdom, Elysium, and that type of thing?
And there's a huge return now. It's interesting because I was just this weekend becoming very aware of how the crystalline grids are being reactivated, and also the crystal pyramids and the ancient power grids of the earth, you know, like Hawaii, coming back to Hawaii there. Yeah. And there actually are a lot of crystal pyramids in that area where you live.
Oh, right.
Yeah, in Maui, especially, there's finding it. They are busy becoming more activated, okay, because the frequency of a planet is rising. So now all these old systems are starting to become awake again. And it is starting to influence us at a level that we're not always aware of. Because as our body become more crystalline, and this grid is crystalline, we are getting reawakened to sort of like a higher, again, I come to sound frequency band, and just remember, sound and light always work together. So it's electromagnetic fields that are being activated again, and it's creating what do you call it? It's almost an opening, if I can call it that way, an opening for us to have accelerated consciousness in the next few months. So the Lion Gate is almost like, okay, it's lifting us back into the understanding that everything is energy, and energy can be channeled in the right direction. You understand? When we start to remaster how we can actually project energy through thought, how we can interact through telepathy, how we can activate the grids, and we can work with them at free technology, you know, that we can all start getting into that power of the grid again, and starting to rebuild the planet in a holistic way. So all that is awakening with us, and people will start becoming more eco-conscious. They will be becoming more earth-conscious. They'll be more conscious of how they interact with everybody. It's going to be a huge shift again, so that we start to understand the interconnectedness of life and how we all interact with each other. But at the same time, it's going to open us more our third eye. It's going to open up more our you know, the transmitter channels, so that we can tune in cosmically and get more messages. People who always had this third eye closed will suddenly have it opened. It's going to cause a huge shift in humanity in a new way. It's a beautiful shift. It's something that is to be welcomed. You know, some will just get scared because they try to run away from the reality that there's more to life than meets the eye, and that is busy coming to the fore. And
Yeah.
it's going to come that more people, like the man in the street who's always been like half a sleepwalker, will suddenly start waking up and say, oh, wow. And it's already happening.
Yeah, it is. And it's happening rapidly. It's happening very rapidly. Yeah, you know, I just want to go over a couple of things for people that are not familiar with your incredible work. And so what I want to do is I want to pull up your website. This is judithkusel.com. Is this okay? You all right with this?
That's right. Yeah.
So
Wonderful.
I know that you do a lot of different things, but what I wanted to kind of make sure that I covered first and foremost were your books. How many books have you written? What are they? And I think you have one coming as well.
I've written 3 books now, well, 3 that are published. The first one is Soul Empowerment, where I go deeply into your soul, you know, and like that, you know, what your soul is, what are your soul groups, where do we come from, and you know, soul purpose and mission. The next one is that why I was born in Africa, the unrecorded history of Elysium and the Lion Kingdom, where I go into the crystal pyramids, the sun discs, the temple of a white flame, and the spinal column of the earth, and so on. And then my third one is not on my website, but it's on Amazon, and that is True Love and Sacred Union, where I go into a twin flame love and also sacred sexual union, and my love poems are there. So that is already got 5-star status on Amazon. And then I've got 2 books in the offing. One is on soul readings that have been done, and the other one is on France, that book on France, where I go deeply into the history of Avalon, which is the third, with the Lion Kingdom. And then also simultaneously the untold story of the mystery schools, the ancient mystery schools, and also Mary Magdalene comes in there. So that is finished now, but it's going through the editing stage now. Yeah. So I've got two books in the offing,
Wow.
which will hopefully be published in the next year or so. Yeah. Yeah.
And I know you're very, very busy, and I know you've got some plans coming up towards in the fall, which is going to be here before you know it. Hopefully we can get you back on again before you leave, because you're going to be going to, I think, Greece. Is that right? In Egypt?
Yeah, Greece and Egypt. Yeah, Greece, especially Delphi. I give seminars in Athens when it starts on the 21st of October in Athens, where I give 2 seminars, 2-day seminars, and then we're going on to Delphi. Delphi is a very, very important place. In the last few years, when I was starting to do the energy work, and I was starting to work with the spinal column, and I was starting to work with the crystal pyramids, etc., I was always brought back to Delphi. And I never could understand why was Delphi so important, but also with my own soul connection there. And then I just felt, wow, you know, I really, after, you know, France, I was already knew that I had to go to Delphi to continue the work. And I mentioned to one of my students that I'm going to go to Greece, and I want to go to Egypt after that to continue the work, because I need to do the work first in Greece and then to Egypt. And then she said to me, no, you can't go on your own. We want to come with you. And some of my students also put up their hands. And then she said, no, she'll organize tours for me. So with the seminars go the tours. And I want to keep it as a small group. I don't want to have too many people, because it's not everybody's cup of tea. It's not like a sightseeing tour that you can, do with every, like you can get into any tour group and go and whatever. This will be like a very deep energetic work that we're doing, because we're literally doing earth energy work. We are literally taking the cosmos and the lion gates and whatever else and integrating this into the earth. And we are going to be able to do massive clearing and cleansing work for the earth there in a most amazing way. And as we do this, I will download all the information there, and they will actually see how I work. So they will get information they can't get anywhere else, because this is information that I tap in directly from the energy fields that I transmit and read and transmit, which is ancient information that you won't get anywhere else, and they can experience it firsthand with me when they are on tour there. So it's the first time I've ever done this in this way, but yeah, it's a new challenge for me, and in a lot of ways. But I know, because I've been told by my higher guides that those who need to be there will be there. They know who they are.
It sounds like a coming out party. There's a lot of people. Yeah, that's
you know, our souls have worked together for many lifetimes. They will know who they are. So it's huge. It's huge. It's going to be, you know, I had somebody doing a reading for me the other day, and she was saying, you know, you don't even realize how huge it is. And I said to her, no, if I've been told to go somewhere, I go somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, we're all in service, and I'm just an instrument. I'm in service, and yeah.
Yeah, this is great, and I'm really happy for you, and happy for those that are going to be able to experience that. This is great, and I think it does parallel. And I was saying, a coming out party, a lot of people are expanding their work, you know, and it's a great thing to see. I know you're really busy, and I know that you're. I want to mention too your soul readings, which there's a brief description here. I'll read it. The soul records of every single soul incarnated at this time on the planet are kept in a massive superconscious field library. Judith is able to tap into these records and give you your soul name, your soul group name, your galaxy of origin, your tonal chord and soul colors. Other information would be mission and purpose. In other words, why you have incarnated onto the planet at this time. She's done one for me. She's done one for quite a few people that I know. And I'm not sure. I know that you're pretty backed up on them. But I just want to say that those that I've talked to, and in my own right, it's not just a document that you read. There's actually a lot of code in it. And I revisit the one that she did for me every now and then, and I always pick up something different. It's like watching a movie over again. You pick up things that you didn't see before. But there's so much stuff that you offer. I just wanted to mention that to everybody. People always resonate with the show. Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to ask you one last thing, because I don't want to keep you too long. You mentioned a couple of times that I just got a big heart. Was that from you? But yeah. So you mentioned a couple of times about tapping in. You tapped into the Hawaiian Islands or tapped into other parts of the world.
Yeah.
How often? I'm just curious. How often do you do that? Is that part of your daily routine? Are you guided to do that, or is that just a practice that you have in general?
Well, it's interesting, because I was actually talking to someone and said to them, people that understand how I do it, and they say it's something that was given to me, when I started on this journey, when my whole life changed and I started reading energy fields. I didn't know at that time what was happening to me. I thought of myself, I was going cuckoo, but literally, because it was something new and nobody could help me. I mean, and what I realized, I'm like I was librarian all my life. And I'm like this librarian, this cosmic librarian, this galactic librarian, okay, that can actually go into the energy fields and go and download information from it. Like, sometimes I've been taken many times down, for instance, with my higher guides, sometimes with it has to pertain to certain places in the earth, to like libraries that are held inside the earth, but they're not like libraries with books, that we think a book. It's not, it's energy. I mean, I was once taken down from underneath the Sphinx into the chambers. Actually, the Sphinx is there's a Sphinx that is like a solid thing, a building, but there's an energetic ones. You understand? They on a very high frequency band, so you can't just see them with your physical eyes. You know, lots of these are buried under sand and whatever else. But for instance, I was shown a huge chamber where there are like tubes with liquid crystals in it. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. I wouldn't know what it is, but it's liquid crystals. And these things are what the ancient used to actually store information in. It's not just anything. And some of them are just like fields that we can't see. And when I say I tap into that, is that I was subconsciously be led. I will be shown, you know, this is like I was shown Hawaii. I will immediately then go into that region, and I will start accessing information about that region remotely. I don't need to be there. I will start accessing that information. So my one friend always says, you got your head plugged in somewhere up there. That is how I see it. I've got it somewhere up there. It's something I can't explain, but at soul level, you know, that is what I've been programmed or whatever created to do.
You're like the cosmic switchboard operator.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I can see that, like, for instance, often I will know exactly when volcanoes are going to erupt, and I know where they are, and I'm going to know where earthquakes is. And I was shown what will happen to America, for instance, and things like that. But I don't advertise it because, you know, people go into a fear mode, and I don't want to put fear into people. I just realize it's part of the changes, of the earth changes, and part of what is happening of the reawakening of the earth with the reawakening of humanity. And as I say, I'm just here to serve. I'm just an instrument that is serving. And it's like my soul readings. If I have to explain people how do I do that, I can't tell them. I've had no training. You know, I'm not saying, and I don't use the Akashic record. It just happened. Yeah. It's just like I know what's going on in Hawaii now because I just saw that. Okay, now there it is. Yeah.
There's definitely something going on over here. There's no doubt about it.
It's beautiful. There's going to be more volcanic activity there as well. Yeah. But it's must remember that the volcanoes also help to enlarge the islands. But it's also going to come up from the sea. You will suddenly have islands appearing there. It's beautiful. Wow, and there's so much of, you know, when the ancient kahunas, they came from, they actually held the information for humanity at a very high level in that region. And that is why it was always given over in the oral tradition, it never written down. That was the same with the African tradition. It was never written down. The kahunas knew how to manifest and demanifest forms through using energy and energy fields, but they did it through the medium of sound. And that is why they also had the conch shells to communicate with the dolphins and the whales. And they knew how to use the wisdom keepers within that and lead the people through that. And for very, very dark ages, they actually taught them how to use the Huna prayer, for instance, to manifest things into form. And I teach the Huna prayer to my students, and I use it every day because it's a wonderful way to affirm your path to what you wish to really manifest in your life as a way of a prayer. That is what we have from the kahunas. And they very much are around you. You will not just have one. There's actually, I see there's about 12 now gathered around you because they are blessing the work that you do, because they are working with you through humanity and you will start finding that messages come to you that you just know that you have to go and give out to humanity at a higher level. Wow. So you will find that your inner hearing, your inner hearing and your inner seeing are going to open up to a higher level. And they are there, not so much, they're not embodied at the moment but they have withdrawn to the seventh dimensional state. So they are actually real, You just can't see them.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these ancient people, when the destruction came, we always think they vanished. They didn't vanish. They chose to go into a higher dimensional form. So they kept space for humanity that's there. And when we start tuning into that dimensional soul, we will start finding we can interact with them again at that level.
That's exciting. And thank you for sharing that with me. Yeah, thank you a lot. Yeah, thank you for everything that you do. And thank you for coming in today. And
Pleasure.
I really just,
so much.
Yeah, I wish you the best with everything you're doing, and I hope to meet you one day. But I guess
it's a long way.
I think so, yeah. You take care.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you. And bless you.
Check out JudithKusel.com. There's a lot of stuff there, as well as her daily blog post and on Facebook and such. But until the next time, you take care. Bye-bye.